Good morning. This is Dr. Mike, and welcome to week 2 as we continue to talk about the workplace and the things that are needed if you're going to be successful. It's not something you just walk into without learning, and I think you will find as you go through the text for this class that there are a lot of things in this digital age that we think about that we have to learn. I mean, I remember when I went into BMW to work in 1996. You have to remember 96, the internet had only been around for 5 years. We'd barely gotten Microsoft Office. And my skills weren't that good. But I got to come up and fairly quickly. And so I learned what I know about Microsoft Office very quickly from having to use it every day for a multitude of tasks. And so it's no longer possible for you to just use the excuse, well, I don't know how to do something, because you have every opportunity now to learn and to be successful. And believe me, they will hire people that want to be successful, that do know things. So you basically need to work on your skills every day as you think about going into the workplace in today's world. The world of work has drastically changed in the last 10 years, and it will change again in the next 10 years. Everything that we know now, the information that we know now, doubles every 18 months. So that means that you'll constantly be in school, taking classes, learning how to do things. And your employer will no doubt put you in classes all the time. At BMW, we had classes every week. I took German there, took all kinds of things about teamwork, and they pay really big money to do teamwork and, black belt, all these other programs that you hear about in the marketplace. To understand the professional standards for the usage and the structure and the format for things like emails or interoffice memos in the digital era in the workplace is vitally important, because we live in a day when these things have become more and more the standard fare. Let me say to you also that these records are kept. So you never want to put something in an email or language or use of words that would be inappropriate, because they certainly can come back to haunt you. And just erasing them from your computer does not mean usually in the workplace that they're gone. In fact, even on your home computer, a forensics expert could come in and probably pull back everything that you've ever done and write a story of your life just from the things that you say. That's why when I talk to students about resumes and working and things like that you have to watch your digital media like Facebook and all the Instagram and all this other stuff, because employers certainly do go there to look to see what kind of person you really are. So in preparing digital messages and memos, we generally talk about the electronic messages, which include email, instant messaging, text messaging, doing podcasts, wikis, blogs, and social networking. There are still a few paper-based messages around, like business letters or interoffice memos. Those will probably be around as long as we live. I remember when computers first came out and I was putting the first desktop into a school in my county in 1985. They said, this is going to be the end of paper as we know it. Well, we're now 30 years past that or more, and we realize that there's nothing in paper. There's always going to be a paper trail somewhere. Email is certainly not going away. Some of you don't like it. Some of you don't check your emails. That's a very unprofessional thing to do. You ought to be checking emails at least once or twice a day, and you are responsible. If an email is sent to your box, it's your responsibility to find it, to read it, to act upon it. You can't say, well, I didn't get that, or I didn't check my email. That is poor professionalism, because these are the days that we live in when all of this is vitally necessary. Even as a student, you have emails every day that teachers send you, that administrators send you, financial aid sends you, that you need to be acting on. And a professional person does that. They read their emails, they act as quickly as possible. Emails are the preferred channel for most business messages. The medium costing business people about 2 or more hours a day are spent in email in the business world. They've replaced paper memos within many organizations, and they are a substitute for some letters to an external audience. You can send out an email to your people who provide support, who own your business, who own the stock in your business, whatever. There are a lot of complaints about emails. Workplace emails are sometimes confusing. sometimes poorly written. That's why we spend time trying to encourage you and teach you to write a proper email, to follow proper email etiquette, and to be careful. Many business school graduates lack writing skills, and that's really sad. Poor texting, social media habits can affect email skills, because we get into this thing of texting, and the textees, the language we use in texting is not appropriate for use in other emails and other social media, definitely not appropriate in writing reports or research papers. And the number of emails is overwhelming. I have to tell you honestly that I get upwards of 100 emails a day from the students that I teach and schools that I teach for, and all the other things. Email blurs the line between work and leisure, because people can now reach you at home in your off hours, on your weekends. And because I teach online, many of my students contact me 24/7. I get emails at 2 and 3 in the morning, because I teach classes on the West Coast and they're 3-hour difference. And I get emails from military guys that I teach that are in Iraq and Afghanistan, and that's their daylight time. And so, it kind of blurs the line. I never get a day off for that reason. Messages are permanent. They can be used in court to prove things. A quarter of the bosses tell us that they have fired workers for violating the email policy. You do not want to mix your personal email and your work email. You do not want to be getting personal emails from your boyfriend, your girlfriend, the lady that's watching your cat, whoever's watching your children. You do not want that on your business email, because that is a tremendous violation of email etiquette. Face-to-face and phone conversations are always richer than email. It's always better to talk face-to-face, but sometimes you want a permanent record that that person has received and read what you want to tell them. And so emails are good for that. So when's an email appropriate? If you got a short, informal message, you want to ask for information, you're responding to an inquiry, then an email is fine. It's great for multiple recipients and for messages that have to be archived and kept. So you want to put out the minutes from the last sales meeting or the last employee meeting. It's a great way to document what was talked about, that everyone was sent that, and you file a copy of it because you got a record of it. You cover documents. When sending longer attachments, you'll send an email and attach the document, and that makes it we use that every day. It's very important. So the writing plan for informal email is pretty straightforward. Number one, you have a subject line, and most emails won't send, or they'll ask you want to send it without a subject. The problem with not putting a subject in the subject line is that that email may go to a person that you're sending it to their trash or their spam box, and they literally don't see it. So you want to be sure you put a subject in the subject line. You want to summarize the main idea in that line. What is this about? And avoid meaningless words like help or important or meeting, because that usually just goes right over somebody's head. Second piece of writing this email is an opening. Include a greeting like, hi, Lily, thanks, Lily, or greetings, Lily, or hello, everyone. Reveal the main idea immediately, but in an expanded form. So more than you put in that subject line, you want to explain what your purpose is. In the body, much like a letter, you want to explain and justify the main idea. You want to group similar ideas together. Don't be random and run all over the board. You can use headers or bullet points or high skim techniques, so that people that just skim an email can get the main points very easily. And don't be wordy. Don't sacrifice clarity by being overly wordy. You don't want an email to be tremendously long. And then you conclude with the information that's important. Remind them, action statement. These are the things that we need to take care of. This is what has to be done. The due date's a deadline. Summarize the message, close the thought, and include full contact information in the signature block. Most of us have that in our standard closing, so we don't have to write that over and over, but it's easily done. Your inbox can become literally full. We need to understand what email is, that it is business writing. Check your email at set times, 2 or 3 times a day. Let your coworkers know about your schedule for responding, and then apply the 2-minute rule. most correspondence, most of us try to correspond within 24 hours. The down editing means your responses to part of the incoming message and include only the parts of that incoming message to which you're responding. Delete the sender's message, headers, signature, and all that unnecessary parts. Identify your response with your initials. If more people will comment, use a different color for your download edit. So if you're going to respond about something in particular, copy and paste that part into your email. But when you respond, you want to get rid of everything else because it moves your email further and further down the list and it makes it more difficult. It takes time to look for something. I get that all the time and it can be quite time consuming. So what are the best practices when it comes to doing better emails? And you start practicing that now as a student. Hopefully by the time you get into the business world, you will be better at it. Don't write if another channel like an instant message or social media or a phone call might work better. Sometimes you can just pick up a phone call and take care of something really quickly. Send only the content you want published. Write a compelling subject line with names and dates. Request a presentation at the January 10th staff meeting. Maybe you put that in the. Be sure they know that. So you scan emails and replying. You scan emails, especially those from the same person. Answer within 24 hours, or say that you will. Change the subject line if the topic changes. Check the threaded messages below yours. Practice down editing, include only the parts from the incoming email to which you are responding. Always start with the main idea, use headings and lists. All these things may seem to you to be redundant. They may seem to be, something you already know, but it's good to be reminded because we face these kind of things every day. Here's the important thing, the etiquette for emails. Don't forward an email without approval. That is the same thing as sharing something someone's told you in confidence, and that's not a good thing. Soften the tone by including a friendly opening and closing. Realize that words on an email are like words on paper. They are much harsher, stronger than they are because they don't have the body language. They don't have the tone in your voice to know if you're happy or mad or sad or glad or whatever. So you want to be careful of that. Don't use humor and sarcasm. You might as well just not try it. Both can be misunderstood. You might be in a group of mixed people from different countries or ethnicities or religions or cultures where something might be greatly offensive that you think is funny. And don't think that everybody around you has the same sense of humor as you do. Many of them will just put up with you to keep from having a problem. Don't write in all caps. That is considered shouting. That's a huge deal, and we get that all the time. In your closing, end with due dates, next steps to be taken, or a friendly remark. Add your full contact information. Edit your text for readability. Proofread for typos and unwanted autocorrection. I recommend that you get Grammarly.com, put that on your computer. It is a lifesaver because it shows you what's wrong in your text and you can fix it. And double check before hitting send. Once it is sent, everybody's going to see that. Your poor spelling, your poor grammar, you certainly don't want that to be your reputation. So what are the top 10 mistakes that can derail your career when it comes to these things? Number 10 is responding when angry. Never shoot off an email in the immediate. Always take a walk, take a break, wait till the morning. You'll feel much different tomorrow morning than you do today at 5 o'clock, and you can get yourself in more trouble. You can start more fires than you can put out in a day. Making address goofs, sending sensitive material to wrong people can get you fired. Forgetting a subject line or failing to change it to match the thread is a faux pas. Not personalizing your message. Don't skip the salutation. Be sure they know who you are. Including inappropriate content, off-color jokes, or other statements you're going to regret later. How many people have lost a job? Recently, the guy that wanted to be the new head of Jeopardy, his past emails and postings got him fired, and he lost his job. Not only did he not get the job as the MC of Jeopardy, but he lost the job he had, which was as the producer. Forget to check your spelling and grammar. People judge you by how you spell and write. That's why you need Grammarly. Think no one else will ever see your email. You'd be surprised. Copying and forwarding recklessly to just everybody, and don't reply to all if you don't need to reply to all. That's a standard mistake that is awful, because when you already get 100 emails in your box, I don't need another 100 when it's information that I don't need to be looking at. Completing the 2-line first, avoid hitting prematurely and expecting an instant response. That does not come. And don't be impatient with people you're sending it to. You have to send and wait, and we all probably need to learn that lesson again. So when you write memos, memos are different than emails. A message too long for an email, you do a memo. A permanent record required, you do a memo. Formality is needed, or an employee may not have email, you would do a memo. This would go out to the plant, be posted on the bulletin board. It would carry non-sensitive information that you organize directly with the main idea. Have guide words calling for a subject line, a date line, identify the sender and the receiver, from Michael Smith to all employees or whatever. Organize the headings, use bullet points, and enumerate items whenever possible. So you want to use short non-sentences and bullet points. So then we want to talk about instant messaging, or IM texting, as well as their liabilities and their best practices that you need to know. There are some benefits. Real-time communication with colleagues anywhere in the world is possible. That's important. Immediate sharing of information allows for quick decisions. Enterprise-grade instant messages applications instantly connect workers dispersed to wherever they are. Voice calls are substituted with quiet, discreet messaging, so you're not disturbing a meeting by sending a text. Other benefits include messaging avoids phone tag, eliminates downtime associated with personal phone conversations. Messages allow coworkers to locate each other even when they're out of the office, and productivity grows because the users get their answers more quickly and can deal with the issue. There are a lot of risks in messaging and texting. Some organizations have banned both for these reasons. Number one, distractions. In addition to the telephone, email, and the web, they are distracting. Potential for leak of privileged information in IM systems, because those systems are free. People can tap into them and they can get company information. Legal liability from workers' improper use of mobile devices, texting and driving. You open, when you do that and you're using your company email, you're opening your company to liability, because if you're texting while driving, you're not only just an individual, you're also an employee using their phone, and they can be sued for that. Phishing schemes, viruses, malware, spam, you get all those on these things. Evidence of lawsuit subject to discovery, which means that lawyers can take your phone and take stuff off your phone. Laws mandating that broker-client messages be retained for 3 years, and it's impossible to do that on a phone. Potentially overwhelming tracking and storing of messages, and inappropriate uses like bullying, the sexting, and all those things that are very, very common today. And so it's important that you consider those. Best practices: follow your organization's policies. Don't disclose sensitive information, steer clear from harassment, discriminatory content, forward or link to photos, videos, and art with caution. Whatever you put on there, do not send pictures of your body parts or whatever to your friends. That is a big no-no. More people have been caught and fired for that than any other one single point that I know. Never say anything that could damage your reputation or that of your organization. Remember, when you're on a company phone using company equipment, you represent the company. Whatever you say can cause a flood of problems. Don't text or email while driving. Separate your business contacts from family and friends. If you've got a company phone, you should use your personal phone for personal things. your company phone for company business. Avoid unnecessary chit chat. The worst thing in the world, someone who's texting who wants to keep chatting. That is not what texting is about. It's to be quick and down and dirty. You don't spend 3 hours texting out and back to your friends or your business acquaintances. It's very annoying and very much poor etiquette. If personal messaging is allowed at work, keep that to a minimum. I still say you shouldn't do it at all. That's the way you're always safe. Make yourself unavailable when you're busy. You don't take these things in business meetings. Don't sit in a business meeting texting out of back, just like you don't sit in church. Nothing annoyed me when I was a pastor worse than church members sitting there texting while I'm trying to speak on Sunday morning. Keep your present status up to date. Don't send multiple messages if you don't hear from coworkers immediately. Don't blast the whole field. Don't use confusing jargon, slang, abbreviations, and care about correctness. Proofread what you're about to send because it can greatly affect you. And then you've got all these other things to worry about: timing, addressing, introducing, expressing, responding. All those things are your responsibility. So there are some key aspects to podcast and wikis you need to think about. Most of these, I'm not going to read these to you because you have the slides and you can go through them because they're very rarely used in the business world. We sometimes use blogs in the business world to reach big audiences, almost like it's a magazine online. That might be something you will do, but probably above your pay grade. They use it for crowdsourcing, for organizations, for viral marketing, which you get hit with every way you turn these days. And so I'm not going to read those to you. I would encourage you to look at those and see what's involved. And you also have to realize when you use social media that it is dependent upon the audience age that you are trying to reach. If you're trying to reach the over 50 crowd, it's Facebook. Most younger people younger than 50 today do not use Facebook. What age groups use instant messaging or all these other things? We have a plethora of different kinds of social media today. So one of the things you ask if you're doing a company message is, who am I trying to reach? What's the age group and how am I best to do that? In most situations, you'll use 2 or 3 different kinds of social networking in order to try to reach, your audience. And that's very important that you consider that when you are in the office. And sometimes, your boss says, send this out to everybody. Well, you're the one who has to make the determination who that everyone is. How do you best reach them? How is that best done? Because it's your job to communicate and realize that you have a communicator till someone receives it and reads it and acknowledges it. When you get communications, it's always good etiquette to acknowledge that you received it. That way the sender doesn't worry about, well, was that received? Did they read that? Did they get that? It's very important that you consider doing that because it is of vital importance. Okay. So as you read your text, pay attention to those things that we've talked about. Thank you.